Good afternoon. I'm Patricia Durgin at the Greater Philadelphia Christian Writers Conference. This afternoon I'm speaking with the wonderful, world-famous Dr. Ted Baehr.
Well, it's always good to get a laugh at the beginning of it. You know, as I said during the talk this morning, 83% of the people go to movies for laughs, so this is terrific.
You're so well known, but you're well known for your passion, which is?
My passion is to redeem the value. But I grew up in the entertainment industry. My parents were stars. My father did a lot of movies, 83 movies. 12 of them were cowboy movies, Tex Allen. He won the box office award in '36. He's remembered for the cowboy movies. He also did Crime and Punishment and a lot of other, Love Me Forever. I can keep going. And then he was on Broadway for years. For years he starred in Showboat, Time for Elizabeth, Man Who Came to Dinner. He was the Man Who Came to Dinner, Showboat. I'm just slurring over a couple of words because I've been teaching all day, so I'm a little tired. So I grew up in the entertainment industry. I grew up on Broadway. I was a Broadway brat. And I didn't have any faith and values. And he kept sending, my mother died when I was young, so he sent me to Dartmouth and then Cambridge and University of Bordeaux and Toulouse and University of Munich. Graduated summa cum laude from Dartmouth and, you know, Northwestern University Graduate School of English, then Columbia University. Then I worked a year for NASA as a research engineer.
When did you sleep?
Then I went to NYU Law School and I was asked to put the legal work together for 5 feature films, which started a company that bought MGM Films. And as I was putting it together, some woman kept shoving a Bible at me, and I read the Bible and I came to Christ. And I went to a seminary in New York, which I call a cemetery. And they said, can you produce The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe? We've had the rights for 26 years. So I produced it. We got 37 million viewers, which is gigantic. The population of the United States at that time was only 170 million people. We had not invited everybody else, and you know, we hadn't opened borders at those times. And so now it's 340 million people. That would be like having 90 million people watching your show. Today, if you get 30 million people, it's a big deal. So when Larry King went off the air, he only had 200,000 people watching his show. So 37 million, and I said, I don't need an Emmy Award. I don't need more people. How can, if it took 26 years to produce The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, how can I help 26 people to make movies so we can do one a year? And the average movie in Hollywood takes 13 years. So I was hoping for one a year, one Christian film a year. We're now up to one a week. And we work with a lot of studios. We work with behind the scenes. We do a report to the entertainment industry. We give it awards at the 25th Annual Awards Gala on February 10th, which I hope everybody's going to watch on the Reels channel, or one of our channels that carries it. Usually we're on secular channels. So we reach the secular audience. We've got 34 million viewers, and it keeps going up. So.
And MovieGuide, I thought was the
gigantic
thing. But MovieGuide is the tip of the iceberg.
MovieGuide is a very essential purpose. It's actually one of the tools that we use, because on one hand, it helps parents inform their children to choose the good and reject the bad. Don't go to the bad film this weekend. We can tell you that there's more bad in it, and to choose great movies and great entertainment like Ben-Hur or Pete's Dragon or Hacksaw Ridge that's coming out from Mel Gibson about the pacifists during World War II. Some great movies are coming out this year. 26 wonderful movies. Now, the biggest influence in Hollywood is the 12 to 24-year-old. So if we can get that 12 to 24-year-old not to go to 50 Shades of Grey, but to go to Young Messiah or Risen, we're doing well. And that's what MovieGuide does. On the other hand, it collects a lot of data. And the data it collects, we actually do analysis, not reviews. So we analyze it in terms of the worldview. We analyze it in terms of the ontology. Ontology is very important. We live in a real world, real pain, real suffering. That's what Christians believe and Jews, but the rest of the world doesn't believe that. They believe we live in a nominalistic world if you're Hindu. And life doesn't matter because it's just an illusion. And if you're a materialist like a Muslim or a communist, then life doesn't matter because it's just a blob of materialism. Cut the neck off, or Stalin starving 9 million children in the Ukraine. So we look at movies through this in-depth process, and we collect data, and we show Hollywood that movies with positive Christian moral worldviews do better at the box office. Last year, 90% of the box office best films, the top 10, had Christian values in it. None were rated R, none were anti-American. This year, only one R-rated film in the top films, all the rest of them are family films. When we started doing the movie guide, just 2 years after we started, if you looked at the top 10 films, 7 of them were rated R and 2 of them from Disney. So we've actually turned a whole industry right side up. And we teach the industry how to make movies and television that are good, and we teach how to teach your kids to be culture-wise. I was head of the department at City University of New York, and then later at Berkeley, we assembled a lot of professors and put together the first media literacy course. So yes, we do a lot of work. We have offices in Germany, they license MovieGuide. We have offices in Russia, we have offices in India, etc. So we do a lot of work.
And you said earlier today that people want hope. They want to be given hope. And that's around the world, isn't it?
Well, out of all those criteria, we review 100% of the movies that open in 250 theaters or more. Out of all those criteria, we boil it down to movies that make money. Great movies are movies that are well made. My Berkeley students like that. And movies where good triumphs over evil. And my Berkeley students, oh, we don't like that so much. That's what I said this morning. And one of them gave me a script and it was very depressing and negative. And he said, oh, what'd you think? And I said, it sounds like a French film. And he said, that's what I wanted to do. But I said, the French don't like French films. They go to Captain America. So they boost the box office for good movies. And you really want good to triumph over evil because a lot of people are having a lot of suffering. My wife has been on chemo for 21 years. She has a lot of issues from all of that and all the steroids. And, it's just a constant battle with all the pain and suffering. She's lost an eye. The other eye is seriously compromised and things like that. So these are, and she just had a disc that went. So these are serious issues.
Yes.
So people want good to triumph over evil. 83% of the people go to movies for humor. Mm-hmm. They want happiness. They want Marlin to find Nemo. If Marlin doesn't find Nemo, it would be very depressing. Oh. They want the U.S. hockey team to win in Miracle. They want Rocky to defeat Apollo Creed. They want good to triumph over evil. And when they know how hard it is, they realize they need a savior. Now, even Superman told Lois that Lois wrote an article that the world doesn't need a savior. He says, I hear people crying out for a savior every day. And then you can hear an African American woman saying, God, please save my baby. And then even Superman goes to church. He went to a Lutheran church and said, what should I do? And the pastor said, take a leap of faith. So those Christian messages get into all of those films because the thing that people want is they want good over evil and they want a savior. They want spiritual concepts. And so you take the Passion of the Christ, for instance. It did more money per capita in Saudi Arabia than it did in the United States. Wow. So some of these films are extremely successful overseas because of the Christian content. And you'll see it. I mean, you probably don't go to many movies. But if you did go to many movies, you'd see that when Captain America, he refuses to kill his best friend Bucky, who's turned into the villain. And he says, I'm not going to kill you. He gives up his life for Bucky. And he goes down in the cross position. And he goes into water, which means he's baptized. And it's actually Bucky who pulls him out of the water. Or in Gravity, she goes and she says, God, save me. Help me. I don't even know how to pray. And she goes down and into the water, baptized, to come up in the primordial ooze. So those Christian themes, in a very overt way, become the touchstones for movies that succeed.
You mentioned earlier also that people will go to movies that won't go to any other.
About 40% of the people in the United States every year, and this has been tracked by Nielsen and all these other tracking organizations. I think the one I showed this morning was from Pew. Go to movies that have that are strong Christian values, like Blindside or whatever, or even Noah, which wasn't a great movie, or even The Passion of the Christ. Whereas they don't read Christian novels. Maybe 4% will read Christian novels because people aren't reading novels anymore. 6% listen to Christian radio, maybe 4% Christian television. So if you want to capture the pagan, which I was for as many years of my life, until I was 28, you can't do it. I mean, somebody would have handed me a Christian novel and say, throw it in the garbage can. So where you can do it is when you go to the movies.
It's really fascinating. You've got the whole dynamic right there.
Right.
In any given audience.
You can change the world. And you can reach millions. Whereas a Christian book will sell 20,000 copies, a movie will sell, 100 million copies. So.
And as I understand it, you're at the process of the creation process
I
of the
teach
movies.
people how to make movies. I teach people how to improve their scripts. We teach mothers how to teach their kids and fathers how to teach their kids to be culture-wise and not to get into drugs and all the nefarious activities. We do the whole thing.
I did not realize how much your organization permeated the movie industry.
And we've been blessed. We've grown up to 34 million, which is just an incredible blessing. And we're not just coverage. Coverage is where, Ted Turner, when he started Turner Broadcasting, he didn't have any audience. So he put a satellite up and he said, I'm reaching, 100% of America with satellite. Nobody was watching Ted Turner. As I said earlier, Larry King, who was on Ted Turner's network, was doing 200,000. But when we did The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, we actually had measured 37 million. So every show we were on, we make sure it's got Nielsen ratings. We make sure it's measured. So you can measure the Facebook 4.5 million. You can actually look at us and see. And the reason for that is we're interested in reaching the general culture. We're not interested in hiding in the back room of our church.
Yes.
We're interested in changing the world.
And that's where Jesus is, isn't he?
Amen.
Out on the street.
Amen.
Thank you so much for the service that you have given us, even when we did not know how we were benefiting from your efforts.
Thank you.
What's the next step? What's the next big push?
Well, the next big push is, of course, every year you've got to put on the scale, and it's even bigger and better, and we need to find friends and loved ones because we're donor supported. Hollywood is our mission field, so we don't take money from Hollywood. We don't charge the money. The donors are it, so we're donor dependent, just like every other ministry. We feel that we have a high leverage because if we can invest, let's say $100 or $1,000 and reach with a movie a couple of million people, I think that's a very high leverage.
Yes, it is.
So that's what we want to do.
How can we find out more if we want to become a donor?
Go to MovieGuide.org if you want to become a donor, if you want to teach your kids to be media-wise, if you want to turn Hollywood right side up. And as I said, we need more Christians in Hollywood, but less Hollywood in the Christian. You're a wonderful interviewer. You should be doing this at a major platform because I teach this to students. So what I say is, the Christians quite often don't do that. They stay within the limited, and they've got talent, like you have talent. We need more Christians in Hollywood and less Hollywood in the Christians. When you go to Hollywood, I knew Lindsay Lohan when she was a little girl. Her mother said she's a Christian, then she goes to Calvary Church, etc. And then they go off the deep end. You need less Hollywood in the Christians, but more Christians in Hollywood who stand for their faith and values. And there are people who do it. We know the old timers like Pat Boone, but there's also a lot of young people who are really standing for their faith in Hollywood. And Sadie, Thompson is standing for Sadie Robertson.
And it's invigorating.
Cameron Burr's daughter is standing for her faith and values and refuses to do so. So we just have to encourage one another.
There are more people who believe than are standing up, but we need to encourage the ones who are standing up and lift them even further.
That's right.
So fascinating. You have many, many stories, and we're not going to be able to get to all of them today.
No.
I thank you so very much for joining me today, Dr. Baehr.